Hey, it's Jazz at Red Panda Reads, and this is my BookTube Newbie Tag. Just to let you know, I filmed this after I answered the questions because at the time I didn't have a name, and now I do, which is quite exciting. And so I hope you enjoy. So the first question is, why did you decide to start a channel? And I think initially, because this literally was a decision about a week ago, I thought it sounded fun. I've recently got really back into reading and I've really been looking for a hobby kind of just as a way to escape from the general stresses of work. And I think from watching other booktubers, I understand that there can be a lot of work involved in doing a channel, but I thought, you know what, I'm going to start it, give it a try, and hopefully I'll find it really, really enjoyable. So the next question is, what fun and unique things can you bring to BookTube? And this one I had to think a little bit hard about because I kind of hope that people find it fun to watch me talk about books, like I find it fun to talk to other YouTubers talk about books. But I also thought, what could I bring that's a little bit different? And I guess via watching me, you'll find out about a few of my passions, which are fun. For example, as you can probably see behind me, just in case you can't, I adore red pandas, and if I can get teach more people about red pandas as I'm teaching them about books, then I feel that will be super fantastic, and I think will be interesting and fun for you guys. You never know. Also, I thought about potentially some videos I'd like to do which is slightly different to the TBRs and the book hauls, and one of those I'd like to do is kind of talk about books that have inspired my D&D campaign. So I know it's incredibly nerdy, but I play a lot of Dungeons and Dragons, and especially during the last few months I've been kind of weekly over the internet playing Dungeons and Dragons with some of my best friends who I've not been otherwise able to see. And currently I'm a player in a campaign, but I've also ran campaigns. And basically what Dungeons and Dragons is it's a kind of game where you create stories via the rolls of dice and basically create this world, fight monsters, have diplomatic discussions with kings and queens, and you basically create this world which is directed by dice rolls, and it is its own form of storytelling. And I want to do a channel where I talk about which books that I've read have inspired my D&D campaigns that I have then gone on to do. So I think that would be quite good, especially those who are interested in D&D, or even those who don't know much about it, because I might also somehow incorporate rolling a dice to determine kind of, I don't know. Anyway, it'd be quite fun to have some dice rolling in there. I need to think about it, but I think that could be quite different and original. So next question, number 3. What are you most excited about for this channel? And I think it's literally that I get to talk about books. Normally, after I've read a good book, I just kind of talk at my other half for a good half an hour being like, look what I've read. And he's not such a big reader as I am. And therefore I think getting to talk about books and then getting other people's thoughts in books and getting suggestions from people who are also really passionate in books and potentially like the same books as I do, or if they don't, are happy to discuss why, would just be really great. And that's what I'm really excited about, talking to other people who love reading. Number 4, why do you love reading? I think that all started when I was younger. It was kind of a great escape, not from anything in particular, but I always loved for a moment getting into someone else's mind, being transported elsewhere, and I've always really enjoyed it, especially when you just get sucked into a book and you can't put it down. There's just something so joyous about that, and I love seeing the worlds people create. Some people's writing is just so beautiful that it can bring tears to your eyes, and I love the characters and the relationships between characters that authors can make. So that's a bit, I guess, not very specific, but I think it's hard to pinpoint one reason why I love reading. It's numerous things which together create this thing that I love doing. So next, what book or series got you into reading? It's going to have to be the cliche. It probably was Harry Potter. The reason being is I remember my mum reading me Harry Potter to go to bed from a very young age. And I remember when she started reading Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets to me, and I had to stop her reading because I was so scared of Aragog, the spider, in it, and all his eyes and his big creepy legs, and I had to make her stop reading it. But then I was like, no, I want to hear again. So we'd start from the beginning and we'd get to that point again, and like get really creeped out and I'd be really scared for Ron and Harry. And the whole thing of follow the spiders, like it just terrified me. But that's what kind of got me into reading. And I'll talk a bit in a minute about how I actually really struggled with reading initially. And I think it was the Harry Potter books that helped me kind of advance with it. Number 6, what question would you like to ask your favourite booktubers? Where do you put all your books? I have such an urge at the moment to buy loads of books. Like, I've been going to loads of independent bookstores. I keep on seeing more books that you're suggesting on your channels. And I've got quite a small flat at the moment, and when I moved from my parents' house, I got rid of boxes and boxes of books that I do kind of regret now. And I want to start collecting again. So my question to kind of booktubers out there, especially the ones I follow, is, do you keep all your books? Where do you put all your books? How do the people you live with feel about all your books? And yeah, that's my question. Number 7, what challenges do you think starting a booktube channel will be the hardest to overcome? So I think something that will be quite difficult is keeping up the frequency of videos. So I'm really keen to get this up and running and to do frequent videos. Haven't quite decided on the frequency, but I want it to be a regular frequency. If I could do once a week, I'd be so happy with that, but who knows? And my concern is I have quite a busy job at the moment. Things might change, but at the moment it's super busy. And also, I think, as with everyone, sometimes when you just get back from work, the only thing you want to do is either, I guess, curl up with a nice book, or even just sit in front of the TV and just switch off. And I actually really love this filming and doing all this, so I hope that I can keep it up, but I'm a little bit worried that I will find it hard after a really kind of stressful day at work or whatever to get back and be motivated to do these videos, but hopefully not. Number 8, when did you start reading? So I think this is the most kind of interesting question for me to reflect on. So I'm going to talk about, so as I've mentioned in another video, I've only just got back into reading recently, kind of since 2020. But before that, I actually really struggled from reading at a young age. So in year 3, we had a reading exam, and for the life of me, I could not get a single word. And I remember my year 3 teacher being like, you must be able to read this. And the word was equals. And he was like, it's a maths, it's related to maths. And I could not read it. And I really struggled. And I also really struggled with spelling. Remember getting like 4 out of 30 in my spelling tests. And I really struggled with it all. And through year 3 and year 4, I was put in kind of the bottom English sets. And then suddenly, I don't know what happened. I don't know if it was a combination of suddenly getting into the Harry Potter books that I knew so well, because I had all the audio tapes, that it meant reading it was easier. And then I started reading avidly. My mum would take me to the library every week. I'd get both audio books and physical books, which I think really helped. And I'd go to sleep listening to audio tapes, which I still do. And all that helped me to suddenly get like really kind of advanced suddenly in reading. In between year 4 and year 5, my confidence in reading increased. And I remember in year 5, I was still put in one of the lowest reading group books in like our classroom, and we had to read Flat Stanley. And before doing this video, I looked up at the age for Flat Stanley, and the age for reading that was between kind of 6 to 9 is kind of the common consensus on the internet. And I was 10 and I was reading this book, And I remember being so frustrated because I was finding it really easy. And I think it's the first time I'd ever found reading easy. And I could see all my friends reading a lot more thicker and complex books. And I'd get home from school and be like, Mum, I'm being put in the bottom group. I'm really annoyed. And it's just because I wanted to read more complex books at that point. So I think year 5, so when I was about 10, was when I really got into reading it and was absolutely loving it. 9. Where do I read? So I can take this in 2 ways. So where do I read in my house? Kind of everywhere. I think I prefer reading on a sofa or the armchair because the lighting in the front room is lovely. I also love reading when I'm on holiday. So I love sitting by the river or a lake or the sea. You can see a kind of water theme going on here. And I enjoy reading. Don't like the sun that much though, so it'll always be in the shade if I can. And I also quite like reading on trains. Though interestingly, planes, I always find it hard to read on planes, which is weird because this is the perfect opportunity. You can't do anything else, so read. And finally, 10. What kind of books do I read? So traditionally, I would say I read a lot of fantasy. So as a kid, I read a lot of more fantasy, magical books, and then kind of over the last few years, the books I have picked up have been a lot of Brandon Sanderson books, and kind of fantasies, and also the odd kind of sci-fi or contemporary book I've also picked up. So those are, I'd say, what I've mainly been reading, but since watching BookTube, I've started also reading some non-fiction books. I've also read an essay collection, which is something I never would have thought. And then looking at my kind of list of books that I've just never read there's a few kind of short story collections, which are kind of books I've never before thought to try. So I'm kind of discovering what are my favourite books at the moment, but I would say throughout kind of, if you look at me long term, I have always been a big fantasy reader, and that's the type of books people have brought me. So those are the 10 questions. I hope that tells you a little bit more about me and what kind of my channel hopes to achieve, and hopefully you enjoyed it. Give me feedback. If you think there's anything based on what I said you think I'd like to read, let me know. But I'll be posting up some more videos soon, and yeah.